cemetery tomorrow at 4 o'clock. And bring the paperwork on Hoda, Sandra Hoda.
Okay.
Do that for me. Okay.
Sorry, I had to bring my hammer and show Rhonda I had one. All right, thank y'all for being here. If you would, let's go ahead and get started. Join us in Pledge Allegiance and a silent prayer after. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
and a moment of silent prayer, please. Okay, thank you. Anybody heard from Jeremy? No?
There he is.
Yep.
And he's always right on time. Right on time.
Tammy went to get some documents from her office.
Okay.
If you want,
I'll just say your name.
you can go ahead. I can take the notes. I can take the notes.
Okay.
I got you, minutes.
All right, we'll call roll. Ward 1, Alderman Mr. Burke is present. Ward 2, Alderman Mr. Richardson is present. Ward 3, Alderman Mr. LaFontaine is present. Ward 4, Alderman Mr. Piazza is present. City Attorney, Mr. Jones. City Clerk is upstairs getting something, Ms. Tammy Fayard, so she'll be down directly, and myself. 4 on the agenda under my comments. We're blessed to have Mr. James Moody here with BSX to discuss the, update the board on insurance. Thank you, Mr. James.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
All right, board, good evening. I wanted to come, I think I was last here in maybe June, July, well, it was sometime during the summer, just giving a preliminary update on the performance of the City of Waveland's health plan. And at that time, I believe I told you that I had some worries based on high loss ratios on a month-to-month basis, and that I had the indication that the city would be receiving a medical renewal increase. And my assumptions were correct. The city did receive an increase this year, and it was fairly substantial. Not as substantial as I have seen with other clients and other organizations, but the city did see as of right now, y'all are looking at a potential 27% increase. Okay?
27?
27.
Wow.
I'm gonna run through the report I just handed you all is what we call a key performance indicator report. That is something that Blue Cross of Mississippi issues. This goes through some of the diagnostics of the plan. I'm not going to get into over detail because there are certain things in there I just don't want to broadcast in a public forum, as there are certain health, personal health issues. Not obviously people aren't named, but something I just don't want to speak about. I'm just going to highlight on the numbers as to kind of where this renewal is predicated from. We can look at page 5. Page 5 is going to kind of highlight the premium versus claims over the past year. If we look at the month of February, all right, you look at the total claims paid claims, we look at $68,000, almost $69,000 in claims that were paid. But if you look right in that far right-hand column, you see $33,889 in premium that was paid in. Overall, that's the 206% loss ratio. All right? We look at the month of April, $58,951 total claims that was paid by Blue Cross. We had premium paid in $33,947, all right? That's 173% loss ratio. Month of May, that's 181% loss ratio. And the nail in the coffin, and this is really where you're, aside from those 3 bad months, this is what really drove your renewal to being where it was. And that's that last month. We had $99,000, we had almost $100,000 in claims paid out, compared to $34,000 of premium that was paid in. That's a 292% loss ratio. All right. So when we look at loss ratios, guys, this is the amount of premium that was paid in versus the amount of claims that was paid out. So if you have $1 and you have 42 cents that was, you know, if you have $1 and you have 58 cents that was paid out, then obviously that remaining amount is going to be considered surplus. But when you go over that $1, obviously now you, what I would consider, you have a deficit. You're in the red. So at that point, we have 4 months that we ran over 150%. Normally carriers will, if you have a bad month or two, that is going to be a given. Sometimes you're going to have what we call a shot claim. But here we had several months where we ran over 150% on the plan. I saw this indication in February and April, which is why I wanted to come in June, just to kind of give you all a heads up. But September was kind of the nail in the coffin. We get those claims fairly late. But that's, again, the 3 prior months that I just listed out to you definitely was a driver for an increase. But that very last month of September claims kind of helped drive that. I'm not going to get into the full diagnostics of this. We do have a claimant that we do have a couple high claimants. Now, I don't know who's on the plan and who's not on the plan anymore, because again, some of that could be worked through based on if people are no longer on the plan, they're termed, then we can go back to Blue Cross and say, hey, this person is no longer on the plan, they're no longer a concern, and they're no longer, you know, a potential high-risk claimant on this plan. But we do have some months where we did run fairly bad, all right? So again, what we did, I've already gone out to the markets, looking at United Healthcare. We're looking at some other potential plan options as well. We've started that. I have not gotten anything back yet, but my goal here tonight was just to come in and inform you all of this increase, just so you were aware of what we have and kind of what drove the calculation of the renewal this year from Blue Cross of Mississippi. Okay, this was largely based on just claimants. We had a lot of high-cost claimants this year. And again, this is something we can't control for the most part. When I look at the city of Waveland's renewal, and I did bring that with me as well on a formal basis. The reality is, so we look at your premium now, it's $383. We do have a secondary plan that we pair in with this to drive that deductible down for employees down to $500. Even with a $486 now, your premium goes up based on what I'm seeing right now from $383 to $486. This premium is still well below market trend. As of right now, we're seeing clients get increases in the 40 and 50%. So y'all are not alone. Y'all are not alone in the increases that you're seeing right now. Y'all's are primarily just predicated on one, a very hard market with healthcare. Hancock County, this region alone, has been getting hit pretty hard. 2, y'all do have some claimants. So when Blue Cross creates and calculates its renewal information for groups that have less than 100 plan participants, they're not just factoring in your claims. It's not 100% predicated on claims. It's also predicated on the region that you're in, and it's also based on what we call manual rating. Manual rating is essentially something that parallels with inflation. That's healthcare trend. So when you start looking at all those 3 factors, they're also looking at the region that you're in, which is Hancock County, which is a numbered region by Blue Cross, and I can't remember that off the top of my head. That definitely plays an impact in terms of how y'all are rated as well. I look at your rates, y'all are still somewhat behind market trend for sure. When I first took over some years ago, y'all had, at that time, I want to say y'all had close to a $500+ rate. Y'all still aren't even back there yet. So yeah, we are getting hit. We are getting hit now, But every 4 to 5 years, a plan is going to see some type of increase because you're going to have some large claims that hit the plan. So overall, again, this is where we are right now. I am working, I need to get with Mr. Fontaine on a couple claims to see if they are still here or not. And additionally, that'll give me some additional ammunition to go back to Blue Cross. And as well, we are looking at some other market options as well. So again, this is where we are right now. I'm hopeful I can come up with something. I may not be able to, but this is what we have right now. And just know I am working for y'all, as always. All right?
What's our deadline to come up with it?
We're January 1st, so we have a little time. We're early. Blue Cross, traditionally, y'all may remember, I may not come to see y'all till the first and second board meeting in November. They have been releasing them 75 days out now, so that gives us a little more time to work just because of these high increases. It puts a little more work and headache on us on our end, but it does give us a little more time to try to work some magic for you. All right. Like I said, I'm not going to go through this entire report because it is a fairly long report, but page 5 is the one that I did want to show you. You can go through it. You will see some of the diagnostics and things like that of what kind of drives the plan. Generic utilization has gone down, and that's a problem. We do have some pretty heavy drugs on the plan as well, which is also driving some cost up too. And again, the reality is, this is why we have health care for the most part, so we can protect people's financial burdens from burdensome cost of health care. So, y'all have any other questions for me? Okay.
So for budgetary wise of what we budgeted for, I guess you're gonna obviously getting a rate to see what you can do with, but you're gonna work with us to see if, I think just traditionally, I think Blue Cross Blue Shield is what is preferred provider for everybody. And I just remember, I wanna say several years ago, I don't think I was even on the board, they switched to United,
Yeah, we did United for a while.
and it just didn't work out.
Actually, Jeremy, and just to piggyback, y'all had United, when I became y'all's agent
That's
5
what-
years ago, y'all had Humana at the time, and y'all, I think they jumped y'all up pretty quick.
Yeah.
I don't know how long y'all were with them prior
I
to.
think 2
but-
years, cause Blue Cross
Yeah,
would
we
go.
didn't stay with them.
Yeah, y'all have been with Blue Cross in Mississippi now for a little over 5
But
years.
you're gonna be able to work with us to figure out, this is how much we have set aside, to figure out whatever creative solution, if it means raising a deductible to something.
I got some potential thoughts in mind to help carve out some additional costs as well and help you all share in on a potential surplus at the end of the year. But again, that's a long-term,
Yeah.
that's a long-term thing, though. It's not gonna happen overnight. Again, we do have a secondary plan in place, so remember I guess that was 2 years ago now, we saved a pretty substantial amount of money with the secondary plan that we put in place, about $160,000. That set y'all's trend back pretty far. Understand when we did that, we put in a base, a primary plan of 5,000. All right, so now we're already pretty much at a high limit from a deductible standpoint. The secondary plan comes in and drives that down and picks up, I guess, $4,500 of that for the most part. So again, understand from a deductible standpoint, we're almost maxed out from that standpoint. Now, we're fully insured, so honestly, we're almost capped out. We technically are capped out as far as the options that we have on a fully insured arrangement. Now, as far as the secondary plan goes, I think there may be some workarounds there to where we can start carving out some additional costs on that front. So again, that's just something I'm gonna have to work with. I have a local partner over here I work with who's a third-party administrator. I've talked to him about y'all already. So again, we're just gonna try to work some things out, bring some additional solutions to the table, and just work as best we can. Okay?
Alright, thanks, James.
Yeah, thank you, James.
I hate to be the bearer of bad news. I hate delivering bad news, but I like to at least provide a fact to it.
I think the last time you met, you gave us a number pretty close to that, the percentage-wise you expected to go up. I think it was around 24% or something like that.
25 plus,
Yep.
so I was
So
2%
it
off.
was- Yeah, that's,
It's one of the things, you've been below every other time, it's just, this time.
So,
Look, when a dozen eggs are $5, you know there's a problem.
Yeah.
well, I always like to say too, real fast, if I'm 32, I remember what the price of gas was in '95, and what's the price of gas now. So I think
Yeah.
that tells us what we need to know.
That's right.
So I'll be in touch.
Thank you, bud.
All right,
Appreciate you.
thank y'all. All right, thank y'all.
All right, moving on, B under, my comments, motion to approve a request from the crew of Near Eads to present their annual Mardi Gras parade on Sunday, February 12th, 2023, and request the placement of their reviewing stand right next to City Hall's reviewing
Burke
stand.
moves.
I'll second.
All right, discussion on that?
Mayor, could we include a finding that this would bring favorable notice to the resources and opportunities of the city?
Absolutely. Got that, Tam?
The only thing I'll ask is, we always set the stand right up in, like, the service road area of
Yep.
90. Can we put some flashing lights and stuff on it so that,
Yep.
that night, we don't have anybody, yeah, that way we don't have anybody
Yep.
hitting those stands.
Yeah, because that's always a concern, somebody
Yeah.
veering off the road and hitting them, so I appreciate that. All right, anything else? All right, hearing nothing, we'll vote. Ward 1, Mr. Burke.
Yes.
Ward 2, Mr. Richardson.
Yes.
Ward 3, Mr. LaFontaine.
Yes.
And Ward 4, Mr. Piazza.
Yes.
Thank you. All right, and C, I'm going to recuse myself, if you don't mind, Shane. Would you take that for me?
All right, will do.
I'm gonna go to my hat off.
All right, let the record reflect that the mayor has stepped out, and I will be calling for C. Motion to approve a request from Miss Linda Pitts to hold the Mike Smith celebration on November 13th, 2022. Ms. Pitts has requested blocking Coleman Avenue from the fire department to Arlington Street.
I'll make a move.
Can I get a second?
Burke seconds.
Second. Discussion?
Do you need anything from us?
I don't think they're asking for anything other than just the location and closing the street. All right?
I was here Saturday and y'all had it blocked to Central, and that may not be a bad idea, because this thing is kind of growing. And also I wanted to request, that y'all handle barricades, the trash cans and the bags, and that we have access to City Hall for the restrooms, like they do for, Food Truck Friday. We will also use the restrooms at Erica and Mitchell's.
My question is, fire and police?
I have requested they've been told of the event.
Okay, now, is the city of Waveland paying all these department heads, or all these people in these departments? How are they gonna be paid?
Oh, well,
I think it's just part of our day-to-day operations, I think.
I didn't-
Kinda like Near Eads does.
yeah, I
It's a
didn't do
function of the
anything
city.
special, that I requested, you know, I told them about the event and, asked for their assistance, and they said yes. So. Well, really, I heard from Tommy, I didn't hear from Mike, so,
Is this a city-sponsored event?
no, it's not. It's 4 of us that started this.
No, that's all I have.
Any further questions? All right, well,
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
did you
it's-
give them copies of that, or no?
I did, yes, ma'am,
Okay.
with the flyer.
It's from 11 to 6. Oh, okay, that's Mike. 11 to 6.
So what do you need from us? That probably works.
The county is gonna give us inmates to set up. We have tents and tables, and they're gonna come about, I think, 8 o'clock. So it would be putting up barricades at Arlington, and I guess down at Central would be the best thing. And I don't know how many trash cans the city has. I don't know, 10 or 5 or whatever. And if there are bags available, we can take the bags out and put them back in.
What time do you plan to close off Coleman Avenue?
Probably 8 a.m. when the inmates get here to help us set up.
so you
And the
just,
Misfits will also be,
So
the
you just-
cruisers will be up and down here.
so you just need the barricades. You're gonna have inmates to actually put the barricades out?
Oh, they can. That'd be fine.
So you'll stage them?
Okay. And if we do have use of the restrooms, like like they've done for other things, we will supply the toilet paper.
Wow.
Thank you. I'm going to Sam's.
Any further?
So the motion, as I understand it, she's requesting that it to be, the city would provide the barricades, trash cans, use of restrooms, police and fire assistance, and, the time of the event's 11 to 6, and they'll close, the street beginning at 8 a.m.
Yeah,
The
that's
only,
right. And I don't know.
the only question is currently, the request is from the fire station to, Arlington.
Yeah, this is kind of grown, though,
So the request on here needs to be a motion for how far?
to Central would be great. Because we do have 2 bounce houses coming as well, and they'll probably be at the, town green.
Who's responsible for the cleanup after inmates?
The inmates, yes.
So the-
I said that too.
So,
Now, this is gonna be on a Saturday,
Sunday,
Sunday.
11 to 6.
so that motion will change and now read, requesting to block Coleman from Central to Arlington.
Yes, sir.
Any other discussions?
Shane, I got a question with that.
What you got, Chief?
Residents that lives right here on Coleman, if we're gonna close from Central to Arlington, you're gonna block this residence in.
True.
Oh, well, they had it blocked Saturday. I don't, yeah, I can go ask them. I mean, if that would help. It's not, you know, I just think that they're gonna put the, bounce houses on the grass down at Town Green. So you'd want the family to kind of be able to be around and not have to worry about kids running out in the street. And plus, where would they turn around if people are parked there?
Tammy, can you have someone go over to the residence
Yes, sir.
and, let's see, well, this is for,
And we welcome everybody to come. I mean, it's a celebration, so,
we will have another meeting prior to this.
Just get, and I say, just get with Mike P, just 'cause road closers,
okay.
as we authorize, but he's the one who coordinates everything.
So okay, so our next meeting will be November, 1st.
Yes, sir.
Can we, does the board want to approve contingent upon the, residents not having any issue with that? And if there is an issue, come back to the board and come up with a plan B?
I guess Plan B would be just to move it back up to.
Shift it,
I figured
possibly shift it further the other way
Well,
or something?
I'm pretty sure the misfits will all be down that way, because that will give them access to get out quickly when they, I think they're here from 11 to 3.
Okay.
And so it would just be parking at that point.
How many of the misfits we expecting?
They said it could be 20, it could be 200. They never know. They put it out there, and it's called a cruise in, I think.
Yeah. But I was looking at from Bourgeois to Arlington. There's a lot of room on each side of the street there.
Yeah.
Park their cars.
Yeah. Well, we've got a substantial silent auction. We're gonna have big tent out there and stuff. We've got a lot. Like I said, it's grown over the 75 people. Originally, we were gonna do it at SMB. And then it moved to the park. And then we found out the lights in the bathrooms didn't work. And I went, well, that ain't gonna work. Until we came to Coleman.
Have you thought about the town green?
What about Town Green?
Have you thought about holding it there?
It wouldn't, it's really not a feasible thing. I think we'll have too many tents for that. And we have, 4 or 5 different foods and snowballs and coffee and hot chocolate, and the WCA is gonna have their vehicle in there selling beer and stuff, so. So that really, yeah. Smaller, the original one would have been great.
Yeah.
But,
All right, so, We're gonna call for a vote on the motion from Central to
Can you read the
Arlen.
motion again?
Yeah, it's motion to approve a request from Ms. Linda Pitts to hold the Mike Smith celebration on November 13th. Ms. Pitts has requested blocking Coleman Avenue from Central to Arlington Street. And that will be contingent upon
Right.
the chief or
City clerk.
city clerk getting with the residents and making sure that they're good with, I mean, they could park on the backside of the fire station or something, but if there's an issue, then we'll bring it back to the board on the first and possibly have to shift it further down the street
Okay.
towards the beach.
Shane, can we include that it also approve the request for the barricades, trash cans, use of the restrooms?
We can include that in the motion.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's gonna bring favorable notice to the resource and opportunity of the city, usual.
And WLOX, and there's a few others that are gonna be around, so just FYI.
Any further discussion from the board?
No.
All right, 1,
Burke, yes.
2,
Yes.
4,
No.
motion passed 2-1.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. The, somebody wanna grab the mayor?
Wake him up.
Like I was in timeout.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, now we're,
All right, Mayor, you on D?
Okay, sir, thank you. All right, D, motion to amend the agenda to include approval for the following two motions, motion 1 and 2. Can I get a motion to amend the agenda?
I move.
Burke seconds.
All right, we'll vote that motion to amend. Ward 1, Mr. Burke.
Burke, yes.
Ward 2, Mr. Richardson.
Yes.
Ward 3, Mr. LaFontaine.
Yes.
And Ward 4, Mr. Piazza.
Yes.
Thank you. Now, can I get a motion to approve the resolution authorizing and approve?
yeah, we'll pick that up later. It'll come later down here in the agenda.
Jeez,
That's
see?
all right,
That's what I get for being in timeout.
yeah.
Okay, yes, Q. Okay. All right, if nothing else, Alderman's comments, Ward 1?
Yeah, I guess, cause it wasn't on the agenda, so yesterday, last meeting, we opened up the bids for the pole barn and the Veterans Memorial. Veterans Memorial, I don't know if there's any more discussion today. Veterans Memorial, it came in much higher than what our original bid was, but also what FEMA approved, cause that's a small, and I don't remember, I feel is it 45 grand is what was approved for that project, right about, I think, from Zeta. So with that being said, I mean, I don't think there's gonna be any other option, cause we've tried to do it every which way. Bid it out, said we're gonna do it in-house. After thought of it, we won't have the capability. It would be I just felt like we're probably gonna get de-obligated because we'd do something possible wrong. So just go bid it back out. We bid it back out and it came in, and I don't even remember what the lowest bid was, but it was 100 grand or more. So I think we need to get, next meeting, we probably have to go and get together and say, hey, we just need, my opinion is, apply the 45,000 or whatever that FEMA award was, and then we're just gonna have to come up with the rest of the money to repair the Veterans Memorial. Like, there's not another option. It's just, we didn't get enough money for FEMA for how much it's gonna cost, but it's one of those projects that FEMA's not gonna give us any more money for. So we're just gonna have to make the decision of making up the shortfall.
We're gonna have to absorb the cost.
About to say, and I don't know what the specs are, but I'm pretty sure the specs are the specs, and there's nothing that's gonna be able to get taken out of it to lower the cost. So,
I think we've already looked at that side of it as well.
yeah, like, some of the
I mean,
stuff that that we're doing to it is going to be the concrete at the end and stamping it to make it last longer. We could take it out, but we're gonna be in this, Waveland's gonna be in this position in next major storm, so, I don't know if we wanna, can we get how much, whatever the recommended bid is, and figure out budgetary wise what we're gonna do, with
Yep.
that.
And what we need.
And have that on the next meeting?
Yeah, just have it on the next meeting, cause I figured marine construction's probably best in the wintertime, cause the water's not there.
Low tide?
I just assume, I don't know. And then the other thing, I had a resident that called or asked me to mention, the Waveland Veterans Memorial Parade is November 20th at 11 o'clock. So if there's any veterans that'd like to participate, please encourage them to join. So I think I heard from Charlie's neighbor down the street, Mr. Sardini, but any other veterans want to, but it's Veterans Memorial Parade is November 12th at 11. I think it's already been advertised, but just a reminder. That's all I have, thanks.
All right, thank you, Jeremy. Alderman Richardson?
Yes, I just have one thing, it's for Hannah and Josh. I spoke with you about 1236 Margie Street. This is a property that we've already spent Blighted Property funding to clean up one time. And I hate to say this, but it's almost like there's people that know that we have a fund for Blighted Property cleanup, so they continue to do what they do and let us end up taking over. And with this case here, I think we really need to see about expediting something, because the back structure is falling down too now.
Okay.
And the grass is high again, so I don't want us to have to go in and use our funding again to do the same thing again.
I understand.
Well, I'd like to mention,
Right next to where your parents used to live.
if you don't mind, I'd like to mention, I mean, you just said you didn't want to use our funding again, but it has been within a year since it's been before the board for cleanup.
Right.
So it's still within that year.
Right. But it hasn't been touched since we touched it.
Correct. I'd like to see about getting right of entry. Maybe I can send them a right of entry form to see if I can inspect the rear structure, if it's collapsing, and,
Right.
because it's overgrown. I mean,
Yeah.
it looks like crap.
I know-
And y'all have the legal right to go in there and cut the grass, but we don't want to keep doing
I
that.
know from Mr. McCardle's property next door, the south side of the structure in the back, the roof is caving in, so.
Okay. It was hard to tell from Gwen. Maybe we
Right.
can get a viewpoint from the neighbor.
Yeah,
Maybe he'll let us on his property.
yeah, Mr. McCardle will allow that.
Yeah.
Just knock on his door, he'd be glad to.
But even then, what's the next step? I mean,
Right.
it's within a year.
And that's what I'm trying to get at. I know this is a process that it drags and drags and drags, and now it's coming up again, so we have to send them a letter again. We have to go through the same thing that we always go through, and we're looking at cleaning it up again. I don't want that to happen.
No, and I think that, I mean, the proper thing is to invoice them, and then if they don't pay, we attach it to the taxes.
Right.
Have
And
we
that's
been
the
doing that?
proper steps.
Have we been attaching them to them?
Yeah, so on this particular one, is this one that we did a demo, or was just cut the grass?
Just cut the grass.
Cleaned up.
Clean up.
Yeah.
Clean up? So, and they've not paid us back, so yes, we need to go ahead and invoice them. If they don't pay in 30 days, and we go ahead and pass a resolution, put it on taxes,
I mean,
let it sell.
it's a nice looking house if it was cleaned up, so I
Right.
mean,
The
adding to the
structure of the house, I
taxes.
think, is probably good, but that back part. if
Get
that-
more of a chance of getting that return
Right.
with a house there and somebody
Right.
actually being able to maybe buy it one day
Yeah.
or something.
Yeah, I'm more concerned about the accessory structure in the back.
That's all.
But that's all I have.
All right, thank you, Bobby. And Shane, if you don't mind, let me go back up. I missed number 2 under my comments. Real quick, just spread on the minutes, the appointment of Mr. Catalano, and I think he's here, right, Gary?
It's under
Okay,
consent.
never mind. Cheese and Pete's. I missed a lot in it being in timeout. All right, Alderman Ward 3, Mr. LaFontaine, I'm sorry.
Yeah, one thing, Mayor, tomorrow, do you have, can you meet Josh and I out at the cemetery? To look at
Absolutely.
one of the plots, we've got an issue with, one of the plots out there.
I know which one
Josh
it
is
is.
gonna get us the paperwork on that. 4 o'clock, good?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Did you want to discuss it or did you want to meet first?
We'll just be out there and meet and just bring the paperwork. I haven't seen the work on it yet.
Yeah, 'cause I think it's important that everybody knows that you have 30 days according to ordinance to put a coping around the spot you pick out.
Permanent coping, like concrete.
Permanent,
Yeah,
'cause
per ordinance.
in all my years here, I've picked out 3 different spots, did not put a coping around it, and I lost those spots, somebody else took them. So, it's that simple to do. You know, so, yeah, that sounds good.
And then the only other thing was, I think we all received an email about the signs on the highway, getting a
Yeah.
plan started to look at doing the signs, you know, taking care of some of those
Yep.
signs. You're sending letters and all that out on them already
Well,
currently?
we've sent previous notices this year. Some of those, yeah, majority of those are in Waveland, so, you know, yeah, we talked to Malcolm and John, the planning director, and there's language in the ordinance that talks about those abandoned signs being a violation, so they need to go.
Yeah, and also the, even the temporary signs that people put out, you know, they just go yard sale signs or whatever it may be that's getting put up out there and just left, you know, they're not
Just
getting,
someone's back.
they're not getting pulled up.
Mr. George is normally, he picks those up.
If they're in the right of way,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, if they're in the
Yeah.
right of way. But you and Mr. Dave Draz went and addressed those signs some time back, and actually went to the owners and after you sent the letters, right?
we did.
So let me tell you what the plan is. May I address the board?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, so, I had talked to Josh earlier in the week about this, and so he's put together the file of all those signs. We had, I guess it was a resident that pointed out, some
Yep.
signage issues, some of which are actually not in the city limits, but the ones that we have jurisdiction over, we're gonna meet, and have a global meeting to talk about all that, and then the process going forward. So, there is a procedure to declare something as an abandoned sign if it meets certain criteria. I met with Jean about it and also met with Josh. And so we're gonna define which ones those are and then move forward to remove them.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you. That's all I have, Mayor.
All right, sir, thank you. Ward 4, Alderman Piazza.
I had everything answered prior to the meeting, Mayor, thank you.
All right, thank you, sir. All right, we have no public comments. So moving on to blighted property, first, on number 7, that is 544 Meadow Lane. Ms. Cumberland Jr. or Mr. Cumberland Jr.?
Yes, this one was tabled in the last meeting of September. I went by today to take some pictures and nothing's happened. And we haven't spoke with anyone either.
I think, well, Malcolm and I discussed this structure. It's kind of not in the state to tear it down, even though that's what I'm pursuing.
Right.
We haven't heard anything from them. We actually, I delivered a card. The property owner lives in Idlewood. I delivered a card to them, and they haven't contacted me back. I think maybe the owner's ill and the daughter was there, but, I mean, the property looks like crap. It's overgrown, there's trash everywhere, the garage door's blown in. The neighbors are ready to see it go, but, I mean, can the city possibly clean it up? If
Yeah.
not demolish it, I mean,
Yeah, we can definitely go ahead and move to clean it up. I guess the key is this, Hannah, is this one of the ones that we had trouble with, getting the notice to them? Or did you actually get notice?
Oh, no, let me look, actually.
This is the one that's 544, right?
Yes.
So, Malcolm, while you're
Yes.
looking, what, and I guess it just so happened I was doing a seminar, kind of. What is, and I guess it came out last year, what Supreme Court ruling, Mississippi Supreme Court ruling, did it come out that, I guess, houses that need to be torn down, like that kind, basically make it so how it used to be that Hannah and Josh could take a picture of it and almost expect stuff and almost go on the property, but now they need to have a bench warrant? Like it's something from the
Yeah.
Starkville turn some, Starkville,
yeah, we can address that.
like what layer of procedure did that add to y'all now, correct? Because I guess my biggest fear is always,
Yeah.
I don't mind tearing down a house, I just don't want to tear down a house we're not supposed to
Yeah.
and have to pay for the house.
Yeah, well, Malcolm and I discussed that before. This notice was delivered on August 27th. The notice that's before you. So the owner did receive it. We have delivery confirmation for that house. But I think what you were asking about is actually being able to like walk on the property.
Yeah.
Even though you see violation from the street, it's illegal just to walk on the property other than basically go to the door and knock and then leave.
Right.
So we don't do that without right of entry permission or
Gotcha.
something, so.
So you either have to have consent from the owner,
Yes.
and if you don't have consent from the owner, then you can go on an adjacent property and view it with consent of that owner.
Gotcha.
And if you can't get the approval from that, you can't determine from the street what the issue is, then we have to apply for an administrative search warrant through the city court and the judge has to determine whether or not we have probable cause to issue that warrant. And if he allows it, then we can go without the consent of the owner.
Okay, so that's
Yeah.
where the issue of lie that made it up to where it was they were not getting consent of the property owner and actually going on there and,
Correct.
Gotcha.
And so that is,
but we've never been doing that anyway, so.
that's a hindrance, of course, but, you know, ever since that case came out, I talked to Josh and Hannah, and they don't go on the property unless they have consent, or unless they go on the adjacent property with consent. So on this particular one, I think we can go ahead and move forward to at least cut the grass, right?
Yeah, there's-
And clean up, and then after we do that, we can put that as a lien against the property, and then try to see if we can get further access to the property through the city court if we can't get the owner to agree.
Yeah, and I'd like to also put on the
Right.
record that the openings on the house need to be boarded up,
Right,
because a big problem with it getting cold like it is, vagrants get in there.
right. So I think at this point, what they're asking for, and I would agree is proper remedy, is to authorize declare it a public menace, authorize cutting of the grass, and then closing up the openings with plywood. And then we'll take further steps to try to get access to see what we can do with the structure.
So we're gonna close up the windows and things like that are open?
Right, right.
And we can do that without the access?
We can, once you declare it, and that gives you authority to enter the property, to cut the grass, and to close the openings. And I agree with Josh. I can't tell you how many times I've read in other places where houses, you know, are catching on fire because vagrants and other vandals get into them and they start fires, and next thing you know, we have a whole neighborhood that's in trouble, So that's my recommendation, because we have proper notice served on the owner for this property.
So you want to get a motion to declare it a nuisance?
I'm asking the board to, as recommended by the code official, to declare it a public menace and to authorize entry onto the property for purposes of cutting grass and for closing the openings with plywood.
Burke moved.
Not second.
And that's for the budget amendment, to amend the budget for that motion, correct? Budget amendment, I'm sitting here thinking about the budget stuff.
What now? You lost me there.
Yeah, I was thinking about the budget stuff.
Oh, okay.
This is to amend the agenda, not the budget, the
Yeah.
Right,
agenda.
that's right.
For the, as that motion that you just read.
Yes.
All right. Ward 1, Mr. Burke.
Burke, yes.
Ward 2, Mr. Richardson.
Yes.
Ward 3, Mr. LaFontaine.
Yes,
And Ward 4, Mr. Piazza.
Yes.
Thank you.
and I'll make the same motion
Right.
on the
Okay.
agenda.
Burke seconds.
All right, we'll vote that motion to declare it a menace. Ward 1, Mr. Burke.
Burke, yes.
Ward 2, Mr. Richardson.
Yes.
Ward 3, Mr. LaFontaine.
Yes.
And Ward 4, Mr. Piazza.
Yes.
Thank you.
And just for the record, there's nobody here representing the owners at 544 Meadow? Okay, we'll make sure we make a note of that in this case.
All right, number 8 is 1207 Toronto. Property owner, Mr. Tory Lowe.
Right, I think I saw Mr. Lowe here.
Right
Yeah.
here.
Okay. Mr. Lowe, if you could come forward to the podium too. May I speak, Mayor?
Oh,
Yeah,
absolutely.
so y'all probably remember this. This is a case we had come before, and there were certain things that needed to be done up until, so this is Mr. Lowe's. He followed through and did exactly what he said he was gonna do. He took down the structure except for the foundation that he had substantially rebuilt. And I'm gonna pass this picture down so everyone can see.
Malcolm,
Good
I
job,
rode
Mr.
by
Lowe.
there 2 or 3 days this week. I went
Yeah.
by there. Well, let's see, I went by there last Thursday morning,
Yes,
nothing. But then I went Monday, and then again Tuesday, and then Wednesday. Yesterday evening, they had it all the way down to the floor.
that's what the
Done a
picture
good job.
shows. Right,
I think getting a dumpster was an issue.
right.
But we still didn't get a dumpster.
I know.
Yeah,
If you can remove
Yeah.
the
But
trash without it, that's not a problem.
you did haul it off, though.
Yeah,
Right.
Yes, it's gone, because I seen it pass in front of the house 2 or 3 trips that they made.
yeah,
right.
I have a question for you.
yes, sir.
At this state where you're at now, how long do you think to proceed with your construction?
I'm gonna get some plans redrawn and, get them all stamped and all, and then
present them, and then I'm be ready to roll.
I would suggest that we go ahead and just bring this matter back up for review. Today's the October the 19th. I would suggest we give a review in 2 months, so that would be the second meeting of December.
Yes,
And just to review to see where you are at that time.
Okay.
December 21st, sir.
All right. And if we don't have the meeting on December 21st because it's close to the holiday, then it would be, the review date would be the first meeting of January.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Torrey.
All right.
Appreciate you.
All right, thank y'all. Thank you.
Can someone make that motion to that effect?
I'll move.
Second.
Second.
All right, we'll vote that motion. Ward 1, Mr. Burke.
Burke, yes.
Ward 2, Mr. Richardson.
Yes.
Ward 3, Mr. LaFontaine.
Yes.
And Ward 4, Mr. Piazza.
Yes.
Thank you.
Mr. Lowe, thank you for following
Yeah.
through with your promise.
All right, next one up is 445 Waveland Avenue, Property LLC.
This one, Mayor, is this the one that we talked about with
is.
Mr. Yarborough?
Yeah.
It's the old gas station.
Okay.
Sorry.
So this one, I don't know if you've been out there to see that recently, but they've done substantial amount of work on it and repainted it, fixed a lot of things, and according to Josh, based upon his inspection today, it is compliant with the property code. So we would ask to, we're not going forward with this one at this point, correct?
Because it's
Correct.
being taken care of.
Been taken care of. Mr. Yarborough represents the owner. He told me, called and spoke to him twice today, that it is now the intent of the owners to either put it up for sale or lease it. And now that they've got it buttoned up, but they are gonna come down in November, I believe the plan is, to take a look at the interior to see what, what needs to be done there. But they followed through and done what we've asked them to do.
All right,
Now,
the
is the
last
question-
time we spoke about this, we
Yeah.
mainly were more concerned about the awning with the loose metal and stuff on it. Has that been taken care of?
Yeah, it looks like they removed some of the loose things. In my opinion, it doesn't look like anything's gonna fall from it.
It's not a danger.
Everything's attached, it doesn't look like anything's really rusted that's gonna fall. So, I mean, without a structural engineer giving us a, evaluation, it looks okay to me as far as, not near to collapse or fall.
All right.
Just ugly.
Yeah, let's say.
All right, thank you, Josh. Anything else?
Yeah, has the question ever been answered why the meter is still on the back of this building?
Yeah, there's not power. We double checked with the power company. I mean, the meter's in there, but they can remotely just shut it off now, and the meter stays in there.
Okay.
It's kinda confusing, but I can understand how you would think that.
But was the meter put in after Katrina?
They may have had, I don't know when the last time they had power there. They may have had power since Katrina, yeah. I don't know why they would've, but
Well, they started cleaning it out and protecting what was there. So it's probably when they had power.
They might have ran, I think they ran the whole, I think it was up to code at one time.
It was what?
They ran the inside of it, that it was up to code whenever they ran it. So I
I
could,
think it's just gutted.
yeah,
It's
but I,
gutted down to the studs.
It's gutted and they primed everything like they used to do. I don't know, I haven't been inside of it, so I don't know.
Like they put kills on it, to me, is what it looked like.
So it could still be something. I mean,
yeah, like some,
All right, thank you, Josh. Anything else, Lord?
750 Hurley Heath.
Yep, next one up is 750 Hurley Heath Street, also known as 503 Sycamore Street. Miss Mary Hawkins.
Yes, we just recently changed the address, because turns
Okay.
out there was 503 Sycamore Street, so. The owner, Miss Hawkins, got in touch with Mr. Clarence, who got in touch with me, and she plans on demoing the house herself.
She plans on what?
Demoing the house herself.
Okay.
she's here, by the way.
She is.
Where's the owner?
Ms. Hawkins.
Miss Hawkins?
Would you come forward,
Yeah.
ma'am?
Hello, Miss Hawkins.
Hi. Ms. Hawkins, he'll help you right there.
Here.
Okay. Hi. So I guess the question is, do you mind if I- the question was, ma'am, the question was, you wanted to go ahead and demo the house yourself?
Yes, right.
Okay. And so how much time are you requesting, to do that?
Well, no, it's holidays right now, so I do need a little time on it.
It's not the holidays right now, it's
Well,
October.
anywhere
from like 3 to 6 months.
3 to 6 months. She's asking for that?
Well, let's just
Okay.
do it the same thing we did with the Taranto Street, just do 2 months.
Okay, so the board is,
Revisit in 2 months, I'm sorry.
they're gonna review it in 2 months to see where you are. In other words, the process, you have to tell us who you're gonna hire to take it down, that sort of thing. You'll have to go through the code office with this gentleman right here to get a permit to tear it down, okay? And are you gonna hire a contractor, or are you gonna try to do it yourself? Not you, but someone else?
She's gonna do it herself.
Okay.
Okay. Well, I don't think she's gonna do it herself. She's gonna help people to help her?
Right, right.
Okay, all right. So she's still gonna need to get a permit, okay?
Yeah, a demo permit.
And what was your name, ma'am, so we can take it down? Yours?
My name, Tamika Hawkins.
Yeah, Ms. Hawkins, I thought I recognized you. How you doing?
All right.
Yeah, so, if you will, provide your contact information to Mr. Hayes so you can help, Miss Mary Hawkins there, I guess you're gonna help her?
Yes.
Okay, good. And if you'll keep up with Mr. Hayes, the building official there, we'll be able to do this. So I would suggest we put it back on the agenda for 2 months from now to see what progress they've made to move forward with it. I know Ms. Hawkins from working in another city, and I know she follows through what she does. So if we can give them 2 months. And so that would be, the second meeting of December, which is the 21st?
Yes,
Yep.
sir.
So on December 21st, we'll be back.
Okay.
All right? Do you have questions?
That's it.
All right.
Yeah, Tamika,
Thank
you
you.
used to put them together, not take them apart, huh?
We're both.
All right, could I get a motion to, table this until,
Well, since it's December
Or just-
21st, and that is truly the holiday,
Yep.
We did January?
yeah, just do January 3rd.
January 3rd? Is that okay with everybody?
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you,
You
Jeremy.
said it's rescheduled for the first meeting in January?
Yes.
The third.
Would you let them know that? Why? What's the
I know we
problem?
typically deal with P and Z on the first meetings and
Well,
code enforcement on the second.
we do, but that's what the board wants to do.
Okay.
All right.
It's just the next meeting.
Would you let Ms. Hawkins know that, Josh, since that's all you have on this agenda?
January 3rd.
All right, could I get a motion for that? And a
I'll
second?
move.
I'll second it.
Okay, we'll vote that. Ward 1, Mr. Burke.
Burke, yes.
Ward 2, Mr. Richardson.
Yes.
Ward 3, Mr. LaFontaine.
Yes.
And Ward 4, Mr. Piazza.
Yes.
Thank you. And before we move on, I wanted to tell y'all the mural on the stage at MLK is completed. And Nikki Main
Nikki Main.
through Mr. Lonnie had gotten it painted. And it was actually, that picture was drawn by Devin Bourgeois, which is Little Charles's daughter. So she done a good job, and Nikki Main done a good job painting it.
And then we'll let Nicholson to start next week.
Yeah, and the mural at Nicholson, once that wall gets shored up, because it's not in fear of falling, Mr. Escher looked at that from Compton and said it's not in fear of falling, but it does, that wall, that T-wall both needs to be replaced. So, and is there any way we can back tie that into, right there on, behind the wall, into the soil behind it? Okay, before it's painted, because I don't want to paint it, then us go working around it and it get messed up. And I think that's scheduled when, Tim?
He said start, Mr. Lonnie texted me, start next week, and MLK is finished and awaiting ribbon cutting.
Yeah, we're gonna do a ribbon cutting at MLK with Nikki Main, and she's gonna paint the mural on Nicholson starting next week. So, get with me tomorrow, Bo, so we can look at that, okay? All right, thank y'all. All right, moving on, consent agenda. Get a motion to approve the following A through R.
To allow me to make explanation on it, I'd like to take item Q off.
Okay.
Item what?
Q.
Anything else anybody wants to remove?
The only thing I have a question for, and you may be able to answer it, and we could leave it on, what is the, on H, what is the hourly rate now? It doesn't, typically we give hourly rates, like the one right below it.
Yeah,
We're gonna increase, like the one below it, up to $14.38. What is this one?
right
gonna
now, I
be?
think she's making $11.50, is that correct, Tammy?
Yes.
So she'll go up to $12.50, not quite what what is budgeted. But as soon as she learns more, I mean,
Now,
she's-
H is just the 3%?
no, sir, it's $1, not the 3% at all. It's just $1. It gets her closer to what a deputy court clerk would make,
Well, what's, the-
without the increase, the 3% increase.
well, what's the budgeted now?
It was all budgeted
No, no, but
But what's the budget rate?
rate?
1308
is what you approved for the budget.
This will bring her up to 1250, is that correct? Yeah,
It would bring up to
1250.
She's a woman, you know,
But she's been there in the court for 6 months now, so, but she's been with the, she was on, with the
I mean,
city
I
on
guess if
that
that's the
program.
recommendation, I said, I think she's been there for 6 months, like more probation.
Yeah.
I just soon do the 1308, but if that's what was recommended, the 1250, I guess is
Yeah,
fine.
however how y'all wanna do it's fine with me.
No, I mean, I'm not here day to day, so whatever's on the agenda is fine.
All right. So are y'all good with that? Okay,
I think that you need to change J to, where it says the rate, the pay increase of the amount of one.
will you come to the podium,
Sure.
please? I thought you knew that already, I'm sorry.
Approve the rate of pay increase in the amount of $1 for deputy clerk. It needs to say $1 per hour. The next one that needs to change is where the firefighter, Mr. Garrett Boget, it needs to say $14.38 per hour. On M, for Mike Pendergrass, for his travel, I think that $154 is also a per night, and I don't think he's gonna be there for a week for $150 to $4.
That's on K, you mean? Well, it's K on this one.
Well, yeah, the one I printed out this afternoon, the numbers are all different,
Okay.
so.
It says lodging at the Natchez Grand Hotel for 4 nights at a cost of $150.
Is it
Right.
per night or is it?
Yeah, we can do that.
It's gotta say per night. And then, approve officers Troy Bordelon and Josh Stockstill. Again, I think that needs to say, to make it clear, it needs to say $250 per person course fee. Cause it's kinda ambiguous.
Yeah, because it says each
It says for
250.
I know
course.
it says for each, but just to make it clear. And I think, the last one, the move in $40,000, I think that needs to come off and be explained. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Rhonda. All right, so y'all go with the explaining P? Is that the next one?
Well, let's go ahead and take that one off. Let's get an explanation.
All right. Tammy, you want to explain it?
Yeah, we're transitioning checking accounts right now, so.
From Hancock?
From Hancock to
To
Peoples.
Peoples.
We pulled the trigger, we're there all the way, but some checks came in, I don't reconcile the counts, but I thought that we had had enough to go through, and so I had to move money out of our payroll clearing into the general fund, back into the general fund, to cover those. That's the handouts that I gave y'all before the meeting.
Who reconciles the accounts?
I do.
And you didn't find this?
No, Tammy had just started doing the deposits, and she was still making the deposits at Peoples, but writing the ACHs and the checks from Hancock. So that's why it went short.
It did, it was you know, it was just a transitional thing, so.
But nothing
But we
balanced.
will need to
No.
move that 40 back,
Yeah.
because if not, our payroll clearing will be short.
Well, there's no payroll coming out this time. It's done.
I know, but at Peoples, it's still the same payroll clearing account.
Oh, yeah, we get it all back over to Peoples for sure, and leave it all over there, for sure.
This was the same email that we received the other day
Yes.
with this same explanation,
Exactly.
with the list of each amount for each one.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, Charlie, did that answer your question?
Yes, it does.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir.
All right, so now can I, y'all want to vote that motion to approve the consent agenda, items A through R,
Except for Q.
except for
Q
Q?
is removed.
Okay. Ward one, Mr. Burke?
We have a motion?
Yeah, we had a motion, second, didn't
No,
I'll
not
make
yet.
the motion.
I'll
Okay.
second.
we? All right, we'll vote that motion. Ward one, Mr. Burke?
Yes.
Ward two, Mr. Richardson?
Yes.
Ward three, Mr. LaFontaine?
Yes.
And Ward four, Mr. Piazza?
Yes.
Thank you. Now, what you want to do on Q?
Okay, on Q, this is a resolution authorizing and approving an amendment to certain provisions in the bond resolution as approved by the mayor and board of the Board of Aldermen of the City of Waveland on June 16, 2021, in connection with the sale and issuance of general obligation bond series, is that 2012? Is that correct? 2012?
That's what it says.
Of the City of Waveland in the principal amount of not to exceed $2,500,000. Our bond representative is here. Would you come to the podium? Sure. We're now in the position to go ahead and close this out. We're trying to, because the bond market, you probably know, is becoming a bit volatile, and so we want to adopt this resolution tonight to allow us to lock in the rate. The original resolution had a cap on it, and so now the rate is at 4.3.
It's at 4.32.
Yeah.
You know, that's the last time we talked to the bank. The bank won't lock it in totally until the city is ready to sign the commitment letter, which I know that you and Troy have been reviewing that today, and
Yes.
Elizabeth. And so that rate will actually be locked in tomorrow. The market has been so volatile, it might come up a little. It's more likely to come up a little than to go down. It could go down.
Yeah.
I've been doing this a long time, and the last couple of weeks have been as volatile as I've ever seen, absent some economic black swan event like the financial crisis or 9/11 or something like that. To give you an idea, when we first started talking about doing this bond in March 2021, y'all passed a resolution of intent. The 10-year treasury was at 1.69%. When it closed today, it was at 4.123%. That is a huge, huge move.
So,
And that's a reaction to inflation and all the other things going on in the world.
so because of what's going on, I think we need to move quickly, and that's why we brought this forward for y'all to do now. And that's the only reason I wanted to give you some explanation. That's all I have. Anybody have any questions for me, or,
All right,
okay?
Thank y'all.
thank you so much. All right, could I get a motion to approve Q?
I'll second it.
All right, no further discussion, we'll vote Q. Ward one, Mr. Burke.
Burke, yes.
Ward two, Mr. Richardson.
Yes.
Ward three, Mr. LaFontaine.
Yes.
And Ward four, Mr. Piazza.
Yes.
Thank you.
Mayor, before we move on to number 12 of the agenda, now that the consent agenda is approved, G, that was on the consent agenda, was to approve the signatures for us on that account. Can we
Yes.
look at, now that we have the signatures that we can do what we need to do with the account, can we look at closing that and moving those funds into the regular account? Because that was, correct me if I'm wrong, Tammy, I think you had said that was, they have about a $20,000,
That's right.
it was almost like a, CD
CD.
in there. So can we
But it's
move
being
that?
held- It's being held for our unemployment.
What it amounts to, it's a security that was placed years ago, long time ago, as you can tell from the people who were the original
Yeah.
signatories. And you have to keep on deposit a collateral security, I guess you call it security bond, effectively. It's not a bond, but it's security for our unemployment compensation account, because we're a reimbursement employer.
Right, I guess what
So
I'm saying though is,
It
can we,
doesn't have to be at the first bank, it can be at any bank.
so can we take it and move it to the same
People.
bank that we're doing now? And that way,
That makes
everything will
sense.
be under one roof instead of
Good.
all these different places?
Yeah,
could.
I can get out and talk to Jessica about it tomorrow.
Okay.
Moving it. Thank you.
Thanks, Shane, appreciate that. All right, that's the end of the consent agenda. 12, motion to approve the docket of claims paid and unpaid in the amount of $694,000.
I'll move.
I'll
Okay.
second.
All right, any discussion on 12? Hearing none, we'll vote. Ward 1, Mr. Burke.
Burke, yes.
Ward 2, Mr. Richardson.
Yes.
Ward 3, Mr. LaFontaine.
Yes.
And Ward 4, Mr. Piazza.
Yes.
Thank you. 13, motion to approve a budget amendment for the police department salaries. Could I get a motion in a second?
I'll give a
I'll
motion.
second it.
All right, discussion.
How's this,
What happened was, the police officers were 86 straight instead of 80. And when we had the meeting and I had the overtime at a higher rate and we had cut it, it's because I had those 6 hours of overtime in that straight time. So we had cut it from the overtime, so now I need to add it back as straight time.
That's a standard thing for, law enforcement.
And
That
fire.
they work an 86-hour, special rules under the Federal Labor Standards Act that allows that.
And I was, the way that it is currently, the hourly rate is correct. This is the actual paper that we approved here that night on, the 7th, I think it was. I got the 7th.
Yes, and if you remember during the meeting, Mike P. was like, ooh, that's a lot for my overtime hours, and that's why. The money part was a lot, and that's why I had put that as overtime.
But this is to correct it now to conform to what the law.
The straight time.
Right.
Yeah.
But the overtime's not changing.
No,
The
it will
overtime that
not.
is currently budgeted is remaining because the chief
Correct.
needs, some for to work the holidays,
Yep.
the grant, and then that would only leave him probably 30 or 40, I think we
Yes.
figured.
Correct.
So it's gonna actually be an increase from the 39,572 to the, don't hold me to the number, it was, I was adding it up earlier, I think it's 42,
42.
somewhere, isn't it? Okay. So the hourly rate is staying the same, we're just amending for the total amount that it's gonna cost at the end of the fiscal year.
Correct.
All right. So I have a motion and a second.
Yes, me and Shane.
All right, we'll vote that. Ward 1, Mr. Burke.
Burke, yes.
Ward 2, Mr. Richardson.
Yes.
Ward 3, Mr. LaFontaine.
Yes.
And Ward 4, Mr. Piazza.
Yes.
Thank you. All right, number 14, motion to approve and authorize my signature thereon, substantial completion for the City of Waveland Handicap Beach Access Ramp.
I'll move.
I'll second.
All right, discussion on 14.
Mayor, can I recommend that we put as recommended by the project engineer?
I like that. All right,
And also, Mr. Mayor, I know we talked about the sand building up. Have we reached out to the county or anyone if they're doing any type of sidewalk sweeping as far as?
I did. I spoke to my neighbor, actually. He does that. I can read
I saw him do it today.
Yeah, they done it today, Bob.
Thank
So,
you.
thank you for that.
I saw him do it.
Mayor, do we have a hit list that has to go through yet on this? Or this?
No, it was just a walkthrough, and it looked good. I mean, it looked fine to me.
Talking about a punch list?
Punch list?
Yeah, yeah.
No, that's what the walkthrough was for. There wasn't anything discovered.
Was the structural engineer there also to walk through?
Yes, sir. I'm actually a structural engineer, by the way, but yeah.
Oh, okay.
All right.
I just told him I was a doctor, so we'll see which one he believes.
Yeah, I'm gonna turn
He's
it
talking
to
about my
you.
chicken scratch.
All right, we'll vote 14 then. Ward 1, Mr. Burke.
Burke, yes.
Ward 2, Mr. Richardson.
Yes.
Ward 3, Mr. LaFontaine.
Yes.
And Ward 4, Mr. Piazza.
Yes.
Thank you. 15, motion to approve invoice 21-019-16 from Compton Engineering.
Moves.
Okay, sir.
I'll second.
All right, discussion on 15. Hearing none, we'll vote. Ward 1, Mr. Burke.
Burke, yes.
Ward 2, Mr. Richardson.
Yes.
Ward 3, Mr. LaFontaine.
Yes.
And Ward 4, Mr. Piazza.
Yes.
Thank you. 16, motion to approve invoice 221-033.001-19.
I'll move.
Okay,
I'll second.
this is for the road paving. Any discussion on 16? Here none, we'll vote. Ward one, Mr. Baker.
Burke, yes.
Ward two, Mr. Richardson.
Yes.
Ward three, Mr. LaFontaine.
Yes.
And Ward four, Mr. Piazza.
Yes.
Thank you. All right, 17 on the agenda, motion to approve invoice 221-033.005-12 from Compton Engineering in an amount of $2,672.50. Okay,
Burke seconds.
all right, any discussion on 17? Here none, we'll vote. Ward one, Mr. Burke.
Burke, yes.
Ward two, Mr. Richardson.
Yes.
Ward three, Mr. LaFontaine.
Yes.
And Ward four, Mr. Piazza.
Yes.
Thank you. 18, motion to approve invoice 221-033.018-1 from Compton in the amount of $180 for preparation and submittal of the ARPA grant application.
Burke's,
I'll move.
Burke seconds.
All right, discussion on 18.
This is just more of a general, does anybody know? When do they think that these are gonna start getting, is it,
Funded?
was it before the end of the year? That they think that they're gonna actually award what we're,
Before the end of the year and then again in around February, I think, would be
Yeah.
round
Okay.
two.
Right. Technically, this is not really ARPA, this is the infrastructure grant that's
That's right.
going through the state. But they use the ARPA, you know, as the
As
match.
the acronym.
You know, it's a dollar for dollar match. And so, I'll actually try to find out from, you know, the portal closed,
the end of the month, last month?
end of last month. And I think there's gonna be a review process, probably gonna be that we're not gonna hear anything until the first of the year, but, you know, maybe they'll move faster. But I think that's about
You
it.
find out, I'm just more curious about,
Right. You wanna know when we'll hear?
yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, we'll vote. Number 18, Ward one, Mr. Burke.
Burke, yes.
Ward two, Mr. Richardson.
Yes.
Ward three, Mr. LaFontaine.
Yes.
And Ward four, Mr. Piazza.
Yes.
Thank you. 19, motion to approve coastal development construction as recommended by Compton Engineering for the following, with the following options.
Let's say C.
C. Is everybody else good with C?
We're gonna do something, do it right.
What is,
That's what I'm talking about.
Seriously, like, how much equipment do we have?
I don't wanna
Anytime
talk about it, but you get a second, I guess.
I'll give a second.
Okay. So I actually was confused a bit about this, and I reached out to Mr. Escher because I wasn't sure exactly what the deal was, and his response was, let me read that just real quickly.
Well, I thought that we could get two, like the 30 by 80 and the 30 by 140 if we have both of them.
So here's what he said. I said, are you actually recommending option 3, which is bid schedules number 1 and 2 in the amount of $133,300? He said, I'm just presenting the options depending upon what the board chooses. It's an either-or situation. If it's just FEMA, I think he means funding, then it should be bid schedule number 1. If it's for both pole barns, it should be for bid schedules 1 and 2. We have no preference. It's up to the board. So I think what he's trying to tell me here is that if you want to do both, then some of the funding, of course, is gonna come from city sources, right? Not just FEMA funding. So I want you to be aware of that. Is that the way you understand it, Bo?
From what I understand, I think about a year ago, we approved it, the board approved to do that additional, part, I think it's 100 by what it is.
140.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Approved to do that.
One of them is 30 by 80, and then the other one is 30.
It's FEMA's, that we've been paying with
Right.
FEMA. So
The
the
other
additional cost was coming out of, when they approved it, maybe, I think it was a year ago?
It was at least a year ago.
Right. So that's what they call an improved project, is basically what it amounts to, right, Kim?
Yeah, I'm thinking though, the last I spoke to her, it would have to be 2 different projects, because if we don't follow their specs, then they can say they're
We
not
didn't do
giving
it
us
right.
any
That's right.
That's why they've divided it up into Schedule 1 and Schedule 2 to keep the funding separate.
Yeah,
I just
so-
want you to be aware that for the
We pay.
30 by 140 pole barn, which is bid schedule number 2, 76,300, that's gonna be on us. Yeah, on
No,
the
because I
city.
guess Chris is the one who's been telling me about it for 100 years.
Right.
But the FEMA stuff we're getting paid for. That's why we have Schedule 1.
Correct.
Schedule 2, we need that. How much equipment do we lose the life of because it doesn't have anywhere to be stored?
A bunch.
Everything that's out of,
So a 75 grand investment is probably a pretty smart investment to protect our stuff.
Right. I'm not trying to argue against
but
it. I'm just trying to make it clear to y'all that
Oh,
you
yeah.
understand
Well, I'm
the
glad you
funding.
brought
We
that up,
have to
because I
pay
was
that.
kinda, I
Right.
needed some clarity
I
on
want
that
you to
myself.
understand the funding portion.
Okay.
This will come, the Schedule 2, which is the 30 by 140 pole barn, will come out of the city's funds,
Yep.
okay? We won't be reimbursed from FEMA for that.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's a bad idea, it's probably a great idea. I just want you to be aware of
make
what
it
you're doing
clear.
so you can make an informed decision.
Which one of these have the enclosed section that we had talked about?
It's the FEMA part. but
It's
they're
the
not-
30 by 80.
Yeah. I don't believe they're closing it in. It's all gonna be open.
All
We're
over.
gonna have to close that in ourselves. Cause
It wasn't there whenever
it
FEMA.
was there, but the scope of work changed to where open, it was just open.
Shane, I don't know where you're going, but let me just tell you this, the way it works is you have to build it back like it was.
Right.
Okay, and so, you can build it, complete it, close out the project with FEMA, they'll fund it, and then if you need to come back later because it makes sense to do so, to make modifications,
do
you can
that.
do that.
that'd be the best thing to do, we don't get intertwined.
Right. They just don't want you to make the modification before they close out the project, okay?
What size pole barn do we have back there currently?
The original pole barn was 30 by 80.
No, it's 30 by 40, cause you had another section added on to it.
Okay. Well, that's the way they have it listed here as 30 by 80, so I thought that was the original.
Yep. All right, so if those two, is that what y'all wanna do, is just select A?
Well,
So the motion was to, I think, to approve bid schedules 1 and 2. I think
With
that's
the following options.
right.
Because if we, once we have to go to the other one, if you bid out, my just thought is, if you go bid out in 6
Saying
months
this
from
one.
now, you're gonna have to pay for mobilization, that 76,000 or whatever it was, it's gonna be 100 and, I think we're getting a deal, because they're gonna be there right now.
All right, so then that option would be C, is that correct?
That's what I,
Is that
that's
what you're
what
saying?
Jeremy's saying. My question though is, what did we put in capital for this?
No.
Was there anything in it? So
Not
this,
for
so
this
this would be coming out of the, I call it the reserve.
Right.
And we just can't connect the two projects, cause I'm just scared FEMA will come back and say,
Yeah.
well, we're not gonna pay you for that
yeah,
one.
like, they're gonna have to submit two different invoices
Yes.
every single time they do
Right,
footers in the ground or whatever.
correct.
Yes.
It will have to be completely separate.
Yeah.
So then it probably
I
doesn't make
think it
difference. Do
should
we
be.
need to separate these and vote A and vote B, or do we do?
No, you can do it this way. You can contract with one contractor to do both projects, but the way the pay applications are gonna be done and all the paperwork for how it's funded will be
It's all
separate
separate.
as per the recommendation of the engineer. It's set up that way. Mr. Escher and I have worked closely on other projects. He knows how to do this to keep you from having
Keep
that
us, yeah.
problem.
I'm getting text messages asking, can you talk into the microphone? The people on YouTube are asking.
Okay.
All right, so is the motion go hold for 9C?
I'll second Jeremy's motion of
Okay.
C.
All right, any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. Ward 1, Mr. Burke.
Yes.
Ward 2, Mr. Richardson.
Yes.
Ward 3, Mr. LaFontaine.
Yes.
And Ward 4, Mr. Piazza.
Yes.
Thank you. All right, we have any comments, Mr. Attorney?
Yes, so the city has a lot that is listed as owned by the town of Waveland. It's over on Market, and it's just to the north of 141 Market Street. We have the adjacent landowner here that is interested in buying that property. Apparently, it is a lot that was acquired by the city, as best I can tell, a long, long time ago. There was a well on it at one point, and the well has been abandoned, not used by the city for a long period of time. So I'm going to ask you to come to the podium if you would.
Market Street.
So introduce yourself.
Hello, my name's Pepper Treg, Paul Treg. So
Yeah.
I acquired up the property. Some of it's on Market Street, and the other part is on the Rocky Road. So I have approximately 500 and something feet behind my building, and then I just purchased another 384. So this lot is in between those lots.
Yeah, because it encircles it, correct?
Right.
Yeah, so his properties that he has, including where his house and his swimming pool, and he has this big utility shed behind his house to the north, I believe. It actually surrounds this. There's like a little wooded area if you drive out there. I drove out there tonight just to look at it, so I have a good picture in my mind. There's a small wooded area that's about 85 by...
It's 85 by 85.
85, and it is just a small wooded area, and he surrounds it completely on all sides. If the city is interested in declaring it a surplus and selling it, the process would be that we would have to get 2 appraisals, one of which would be paid for by the buyer, one by the city, and then we would arrive at the purchase price. Now, there is something a little bit strange about it in the sense that when we were looking for the deed to it, which must have been, I mean, this has been owned by a family, and then it was transferred to the city years and years and years ago. I can't tell exactly when. There may be a need to do a confirmation suit, which Mr. Pepper's willing to have his attorney take care of at his expense, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. So the only cost to the city would be just the one appraisal that we would pay for, and then he would pay for the other appraisal and all other expenses.
Here's my issue with it, and I understand selling it to an adjacent neighbor, because they probably have the most demand for it.
Right.
But it being a 7,500 square foot lot,
Something like that,
buildable lot, on Market Street.
yes.
And I understand selling it to an adjacent property owner because they have the most interest in it, but I guess I would be hard pressed to sell it just directly to them for a fair market value and not surplus it and solicit bids for it.
Okay.
Just because truthfully, I think if that happens, there would be, I'm sure, a number of contractors would probably be upset that, honestly, probably a lucrative house, that Market Street is a street that houses.
Actually, it's supposed to be 12,000 square feet, the buildable.
But
Yes.
it's
No, it's 12,000 square feet.
No, but this is
Pre-platted.
this is a pre-existing
They
non-conforming
call
lot.
it non-conforming, it's grandfathered basically.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, you'd have to go get variances and everything else.
No, you just have to build, it would be a 12, I don't know if it'd be 15-foot side yard setback or 12.5-foot side yard setback if it's an 85-foot lot, whatever it is, but you would still follow the setbacks.
You
but-
would still need a variance though.
How long has this
So
property
that's
been on
why
the
I'm
books?
saying that it only
Well,
benefits me.
Long
it's in the
time.
town of Waveland, so that's pre-1974.
Right.
So that's,
So let me explain what the law says. All right, so number one, there are 3 ways that you can sell property, the city. One is what I just mentioned a minute ago, we have 2 appraisals. That's selling directly to an individual. Another way is that you go ahead and you have an auction and you take sealed bids and pick the highest bidder. The third way is you go ahead and hire a realtor to list it and then go through that sales process that you have with the normal process where you have a realtor. So you can pick one of those 3 ways, but if you want to go ahead and sell to the individual that is the adjacent one, you have to do the one with the 2 appraisals. So it is at the discretion of the board how you proceed, you know.
I'd
It
rather
isn't-
do the one with the 2 appraisals.
And Pepper does have his property, I looked at it today with Malcolm, it goes all the way around
Yes, it does.
that one little lot.
So is there a right-of-way to the property?
It's right up on
It's
Market
right,
Street.
yeah, it's right on the street.
So it's a lot, it's not like,
Because I have it, so.
It fronts on Market.
There was an old well, in fact, it's still there, I think.
Still
part
there,
of
the
it.
well.
Yeah, and that will be another responsibility of the buyer, that whatever he has to do to cap the well or whatever, remove it, would be up to him.
Decommission it.
Yeah.
See, it's my property there. That's his, I mean, that's our. This is his too.
So there's a 15-foot right-of-way
That I own.
that you own
That I own,
on one side, and then on the other side is
65 feet.
a 65-foot lot, and then, but it's not completely surrounded. It actually faces Market Street on
Yeah,
one
but
side.
I own the back part of it,
Right,
so it is completely surrounded.
except for the other side faces
Well, the other
Market
side that,
Street.
That abuts Market
So
Street,
it's-
right?
Yeah, so you've got three sides surrounded and one side that faces Market.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
So I wanted to bring this to the attention of the board. Of course, it's sitting out there, tax exempt, that you're not getting any revenue for it. You're responsible for the maintenance of it. And to be very honest, there's no maintenance going on. It's a wooded lot. Mr. Pepper here is, maintaining all the grass all the way around it, you know, like you would your lawn. But this lot is just, sticking out there kinda like a sore thumb as
Yeah, it is.
a wooded lot. And it's, hadn't been dealt with for a long time. I don't know when they abandoned that well, but if I had to guess, I'd say probably more than 50 years ago. I went back and researched the title on it, and I saw where they had acquired it for well works back in the early 1900s. So it's been there a long time.
A long time.
And I guess when the city drilled its own wells, then they stopped using it. Maybe maybe the well dried up, who knows? I don't know enough about the history of that to tell you.
Do you plan on development on this?
it would definitely be beneficial in the long run for the city.
You plan on development in that area?
Yes, eventually.
No, I guess I don't have an issue with surplusing the property if we don't need it. My issue is just doing it that everybody has a shot at it, including the one that's at the podium now. Everybody has a shot at it. Because it's not like a 25-foot by 20-foot sliver that it wheels on. It is a
So with
buildable lot.
with that being said, I don't want to interrupt you, but if you look at the whole picture of all the land there, this is lots that can be a lot longer than normal. And, you know, one guy gets one lot and I'm surrounding him. That's not beneficial for him or the long run and the amount of building that you can put on that brings more revenue, more taxes.
I guess if you want to say, like, get the real, like, big picture of it, like, if you own a large piece of property
Correct.
that if you opened up the road and put utilities back, I mean, obviously you have, you know, you could build several $1 million worth of homes, of honestly building legal sized lots from a 500-foot one. Like, you would control a lot of it. But that being said, like, I'm just looking at it not dollars and cents wise of me not being a contractor, but I could tell you a smaller lot that's pre-existing that you could build a 40 by 40 square foot house on within the setbacks by right in Waveland, a block from the beach. It's probably
It's not a half a block from the beach. It's
a 60 that you can see from your mailbox. It's probably a 60,000, 70,000. I mean, I don't even know.
No. It's 85 wide by 85. All right, so you have to have 12,000 square feet.
No, not if it's a pre-existing it's already a lot of record, so you can buy that, whatever. So it's not like a lot that's just a wells on. That's what I'm trying to say, why it has value to people besides just to you.
It would just have more value in the long run if I was to acquire this. That's all I'm saying.
I would say the same
All
thing.
right.
All right, so you want, I guess, what it amounts to is I need for the board to answer two questions. One, do you want to declare it surplus? That's first. Second, if you do want to declare it surplus, what are the three options do you want to use to sell it? When I say declare it surplus means you're going to sell it, dispose of it. So do you want to do the first one, which I mentioned about the two appraisals, which is what I've already explained, or do you want
That's
to?
the one I'll move on.
Okay, so that's what you're suggesting.
I'll make a
All right.
motion for that. I mean, we've been sitting on this property for 100 years.
I don't know how long, but I will tell you this, it's been there and it's just been sitting there. And I was, frankly, I was kind of surprised to see that it had the town of Waveland's name on it, to be honest with you.
Yep.
And it's been exempt all that time. So I'm sure it had great utility to the city when it was a well, but it hadn't been a well for a long time. I can't find anybody in the city that can tell me anything about when it was a functioning well.
You didn't ask the right one.
I'm sure there's the right one, Charlie, you know, but I don't know.
And you researched at Jimmy Ladner's office about
Right.
it too.
I did run down all the deeds going back to, as I said, the early 1900s, but anyway.
So let me ask you this,
Yeah.
with it having a well on it, if we do declare it surplus and get rid of it or do whatever we're gonna do,
Yep.
what about the liabilities of it having a well on it prior, as far as for someone to build on or?
So the purchaser would be responsible for anything that has to do with the abandonment, capping, removal of the well.
Decommissioning.
Yeah, once the city transfers title, then we transfer
It's
that
his.
responsibility as well. I think you're probably thinking about something maybe like a contaminated site or a landfill that's been covered over. It's not the same type of liability for that.
Okay.
Yeah,
This is kind of like just a piece of pipe sticking out of the ground, being
yeah,
honest.
yeah.
Don't even have a cap on it.
That's what I say,
Yeah.
just a piece of pipe sticking out of the ground.
Was that
Generally
artesian at one
speaking,
time?
Generally,
Was it artesian at one time or just a well?
It was just a well.
yeah, yeah.
And the city
Right.
did use it.
Yeah, it has to be capped, and generally they just pour concrete down there and cut it off at ground level, so,
So you've been around a long time, huh, Charlie?
yeah.
All right, so we have a motion and a second.
I'll move.
And that is to declare it surplus and to go ahead and, market it or sell it using the appraisal process, is what I
Yep.
heard you say. Okay.
All right, we have a second for that?
How long does it take to,
I seconded him.
do we have to advertise and stuff to declare it surplus?
No, what'll happen is, once you do this tonight, I'll come back with a resolution that will, provide all the details of how this is gonna go forward with the contracting and everything else. We'll enter into a contract, and then, once they complete the title work and everything that's necessary for that, then we'll have the two appraisals. Of course, if the appraisals come back in a way that, the buyer doesn't wanna go forward with it, or the city doesn't wanna go forward with it, then we can, end at that point. But basically, you're saying that, you're gonna sell it for fair market value based upon the appraisal process.
Unless we disagree with that
Right.
number is when it comes back to the
Correct.
appraisal process.
Yeah,
All right,
all right,
nothing else, we'll vote that motion. Ward one, Mr. Burke.
No.
Ward two, Mr. Richardson.
Yes.
Ward three, Mr. LaFontaine.
Yes.
And Ward four, Mr. Piazza.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Pepper.
Thank you very
Appreciate
much. Thank you.
that's all the comments I have. I have no, reason to recommend going into executive session.
Okay, thank you. All right,
Oh,
then,
are there any questions for me?
So that'll come back at the next meeting?
Yes, yes,
With the appraised value, and then we determine from there where we go.
right.
if we go any further.
Yeah, I'll actually come back with a resolution. Whether or not we'll have the appraisals by that next meeting, I'm not sure, because the appraisers are kind of backed up
They
that
are
I've
busy.
talked to. So it may take a little longer to get the actual appraisal. in
So it
hand.
won't, so it won't come back on the next meeting, come back after
It
we
may
get the
not.
appraisals?
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, could I get a motion to adjourn?
I'll move.
I'll second.
We'll vote that. Ward one, Mr. Burke.
Berkey, yes.
Ward two, Mr. Richardson.
Yes.
Ward three, Mr. LaFontaine.
Yes.
And Ward four, Mr. Piazza.
Yes.
Thank y'all. Thanks, everybody, for coming.
What's happening?